Hello students, welcome to Prelims Cruise program with Civil Service Gurukul. I am Dr. Vivek Rana. I will be taking defense updates, probably the three most important themes which can be asked in upcoming UPSC Prelims 2025. So in last lecture, we had decoded three macro, you could say, themes from space sector. Today, we are taking that conversation forward with the defense theme. We have seen in last 4 or 5 years, every alternate year, there is a question from defense section. Last year, it was on the fighter jets, and then there were a couple of questions on military drills as well. And also we have seen the air defense system being asked regularly right from the third S400T from the defense section. So we can say this is once again a quintessential section which is a hot favorite for examiners in prelims examination. So it's quite a difficult task to just figure out and just streamline three macro themes from this section, because almost every alternate current affair from this section is quite important one. But sticking to our series cruise program, I will be highlighting three macro themes which have potential to ask in examinations. Without wasting any time, let's start the first macro theme for today: generations of fighter jets. Just like telecommunications, we are currently using the 5G smartphones. In similar way, the most advanced combat ready, you could say, fighter jet belong to fifth generation. But in this years, we have seen current affair popping out regarding developments and projects being formally launched about sixth generation as well. So in prelim perspective, they might ask what exactly are the different generation, or to be precise, they might just highlight particular aircraft and you just have to match or incorrect pair regarding their specific generation. So the story of these fighter jets begins with the World War II in 1943 to 55 phase, to be precise. We can say the first generation of fighter jets evolved, and they mainly belong to US and Soviet Union. You could say the MiG series was the aircraft which evolved during this time. It was at that time quite an advanced technology which made headlines, and Hawker Hunter was another one which belonged to this series. So these first generation fighter jets had characteristic subsonic speeds. Subsonic means they travel with the speed less than speed of sound, because currently the warfare has evolved. As we will progress in generation in these evolutions, we will see a major jump in the speeds, and they had basic avionics as well. Then coming to the next generation, from 1955 to, you could say, 70, timeline was dominated by second generation fighter jets, and they were better versions from the first jet, as they could target, you could say, the enemy aircraft with semi guided missiles. They were comparatively slightly lighter than the first generation, and this is where the most iconic aircraft which has been associated till date with Indian Air Force, MiG-21, comes into the picture. So basically you can say in whole of the world already MiG-21 has been phased out. India is the one of the last countries where that combat ready aircraft still operate. So basically you can say they were part of history, and they did some remarkable job during their times, but of late, due to, you could say, wear and tear and with changing dynamics, they are currently painted as villains, and currently through Tejas we are finally phasing out MiG-21 series from our arsenal, because we have quite a hostile neighbor and there should not be any compromise when we talk about the air defense. Then third generation was also being developed at the almost similar timeline, to be precise 1960s to, you could say, 70s. They were third generation aircraft. They were tasked for multi, you could say, fighter jet technology, whether it's a low altitude, whether it's a high altitude. They were or you would say more or less modified for advanced competitive nature, and they also carried weapons which could almost hit target with precision in beyond visual range category. So in this series, once again, the new versions of MiG, you could say MiG-23 as well as Sukhoi series started to evolve. Even in US also there was a UN, you could say, race for developing the next generation fighter jets. Now, if we look at the current times, the more or less majority of the developed nations have fourth or generation fighter jets. So most of the aircraft which you often see in your current affair newspaper, they belong to this advanced generation. And this generation evolved from 1970s to, you could say, 2000. And this is where the, you could say, tactical purpose aircrafts come into the picture, and the list is long. In example, whether it's Mirage 2000, or you could say the Dassault Aviation Rafale, which we are acquiring currently. It's 4.5 generation because it has advanced missiles like Scalp in its arsenal, also the Meteor, which is once again one of the best in its capabilities. So in these fourth generation aircraft, they are designed, or they are commonly called as medium multi-role combat fighter jets. They have advanced avionics, they have initial stealth features so that enemy cannot detect them, and they are more combat advanced in whether it's a low altitude or a high altitude. These fighter jets are quite handy if you want to have a go at the enemy's team. So basically, the fourth generation fighter jets, India is what is looking to upgrade in its purpose, and we are little short in numbers in last decade, because if we have a two front war, our current squadrons or fleets might not be in position to handle them as the situation deems. Then the current decade 2000 onwards is of fifth generation. Currently, we can say USA has taken a lead. It was the first country to develop fifth generation combat ready fighter jet. It is called F-22 Raptor. The second one was once again to US only. It is called F-35A Lightning. Both aircrafts were developed by Lockheed Martin, and currently we see Russia and China have also developed, and they are going trial stages. The Russian one is Sukhoi 57, whereas the China one is J-20, which is commonly known as Jian 20. So Russia more or less has invited India to be financial as well as a technological partner if it deems fit, but currently India is not too optimistic, and is on thought process that it should ideally develop this fifth generation fighter jets of its own, even though it might be little subdued or late. So this is where we can say we can say USA has taken lead in many strides, and it's considered as most advanced air force in the world. And the main feature which distinguishes fifth generation fighter jets from the initial four are its advanced stealth features. Basically, the common radar systems based on infrared and other basic technologies, these fighter jets can easily escape them. They have, you could say, they are supersonic in nature. So as I had highlighted, in first generation we had seen on subsonic speed. From second generation onward, supersonic was at peak, and in fifth generation it's almost Mach number 2 to 3. So you can say it's the fastest fighter jets made of light avionics as well as most competitive advanced air facilities. Now, there is no end to the human endeavors in terms of technology upgrade. So currently, world is now witnessing development of sixth generation fighter jets. So what exactly would be the upgrade? It would have advanced AI capabilities to take enemy by surprise. They would have hypersonic speed capability. So you can say it will cross the Mach number of more than 5, and it would have it will cut short the time travel when you have to launch an all-out attack on enemy territory on short notice. So hypersonic technology is going to be a game changer. Already we have seen the glimpse in lot of missiles that as well. And also they are thinking about the use of directed energy weapons. So DEWs, India is also developing some similar weapons like Kali Trinetra. So that's another defense topic which ideally you should upgrade in your knowledge, so that you don't caught off by this word. So you can say the next level of warfare would be dominated by fifth and sixth generation fighter jets. And as per CIPRI report, India is still at the second largest defense importer. We need to change that perception and evolve our own technologies if India wants to make mark in defense sector, because in yesterday's lecture we have seen India has emerged as top 5 space power. In lot of milestone, India has been the fourth country to achieve those glory, and in developing world it's one of the first. in defense, we can say there is scope of more improvement. So make sure you are thorough with what are the different generations, some basic features about each generation, and specific examples, particularly which are used in Indian subcontinent, so that you could memorize the limited but qualitative example. So this is the first theme from our side, which we have just brushed up for your knowledge and given you a right direction that how this topic is to be prepared. Now coming to the second part. The second major topic which can be asked in UPSC prelims perspective is the Scorpene project, because we have seen this project has been making headlines in last 3 years. Initially, the program was announced, then slowly we started the experimental stage of these special submarines, then slowly we inducted all the 6 ones. And there were talks with France to upgrade or start Project 75A as well. We did not fructify for the time being, but nevertheless, we can say this Scorpene project is a ideal example of a diplomatic, you could say, victory where two powerhouses have collaborated for a larger cause. So, in this particular current affair, when we talk about submarines, we can say any navy, when it is being ranked in global perspective, there are 3 basic things which it should have. It should have aircraft carrier, it should have nuclear powered or conventional, you could say, submarines, and warships, or you could say stealth destroyers. And India has all 3 in its arsenal. So unlike the Air Force which we have just discussed, we can count ourselves in top 5, you could say, dominant navies which are patrolling the different oceans. So in this project was strategically important, even though it's a conventionally powered. When I say conventional, it means it is diesel electric powered, but it has helped in increasing the overall number of submarines, because we see that currently the disputed island is one of the IR themes which is often asked, right from the Pralay, the Ayus, Senkaku, Paracel, the list goes on, and we have seen China's string of pearls theory, which is always a threat in Indian Ocean. So in that background, we can say we have a ever expanding coastline. We need to protect our strategic assets with such, you could say, advanced technologies. So from factual point of view, we need to understand this project was named as Project 75. Under this project, India and France jointly agreed to co-produce 6 conventional submarines at Musgaon Dock Limited, and each was equipped with the advanced features, and they have been successfully completed. So there's no need to mug up the exact value like 3.75 billion agreement, the MDL group or the naval group. In broad, but you just have to understand the Scorpene are the advanced class of diesel powered submarines. They are not nuclear powered or nuclear attacked. You should be careful when UPSC tries to manipulate you in making minor mistakes in this theme. And the key aspect is what exactly are the 6 submarines which have been developed and what are their nomenclatures. So as you could see on your screen, in under Project 75, these were 6 specific submarines which were constructed. The first 3 submarines were given names starting with alphabet K. The last 3 were named by V alphabet, because we have seen INS Vikramaditya, Vikrant, Virat, these words are commonly associated with our aircraft carrier fleet. So at times, if we are not revising this topic particularly, we tend to mix up submarines with, you could say, the stealth frigate or with the, you could say, aircraft carriers. So make sure you memorize them by heart. The first ship in the series was INS Kalvari, and whenever some new project is being carried out, the first ship in the picture, whatever XYZ its name, it is referred as the class. So basically this all represents Kalvari class submarine. So basically because Scorpene is a, you could say, more or less a French word. So the Indian ships, when they are produced and they are inducted into the Navy, they are given the indigenized name, so that for military purpose and for better logic. So the Kalvari has an interesting name. Just as we see in biodiversity, the most ferocious, you could say, predator underwater is shark. So this Kalvari name has been borrowed from tiger shark fish, because in similar way, our submarine will be quite attractive in nature. It will take enemy by surprise and take them to torture. So we can say the Kalvari word is something which you should ideally be familiar with. And coming to INS Khanderi, it was the second ship of Calvary class, and it has already been in functional state for quite now long years. It has been named after island fort which was captured by Shivaji, because in all these submarines were constructed at Mazgaon Dock Limited, Mumbai. So we all know Shivaji has a special place in heart in Maharashtra as well as rest of the India, and he was the first of the rulers who maintained a regular disciplined navy from which we even borrow and take inspiration till date. So make sure you are clear about the historical aspect of Khanderi as well. Coming to the third one, INS Karan, it was an old warship which served Indian Navy for quite long, and then it was decommissioned. So to revive the fond memories associated with that remarkable mission, INS Karanj was commissioned. Now the next name is quite intriguing one. When we say it looks appears on paper like Vela, but it is INS Vela. It was the first ever submarine which was inducted into Indian Naval Force, and to once again, as a fitting tribute to that first submarine which we acquired, we have once again given the name to one of these submarines as INS Vela. Then INS Vagir, it was quite recent, it was commissioned in 2023. It is once again related to biodiversity. To be specific, it's once again, you could say, sandfish, which has been quite a predator fish in the seas. And once again, we have given the name of a fish to this. And the final one which made headlines was INS Vagshir. It's once again a predatory sandfish which makes an ecosystem quite competitive for its own, uses ecosystem for its own advantage. So more or less these are quite unconventional names. Otherwise, when we do class lectures, whenever there is a one particular class which has been named, it follows a definite pattern. Like if we say, if there is one is named INS Satpura, the other is Sahidri, and other is the Shivalik, or the common, the river's name Byas, you could say, and the port name Kolkata, Paradweep. They follow a definite pattern. They are easy to mug up. But in this case, since every name is quite unique and they are not common words which we associate with ships, it could be a quite a tricky question whenever, if at all, it's asked in examination. So make sure this particular theme, and also the aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, you just brush up the exact example, because we have seen in defense section already there is little more focus on air force and missiles part. Naval part has been asked quite less, but there's and UPSC is always plays with you aspirants mind. So make sure you are equipped with the basic of Indian naval shipsets. Then coming to the final theme, once again we have seen the missiles is a topic which is quite favorite of UPSC examiners. We have seen questions appearing on Agni series, on Prithvi series, on BrahMos, because these are the pet themes of UPSC from which already multiple questions have been asked. So, but generally UPSC always tries to experiment with the new information so that the new aspirants are not at too disadvantage as compared to the veteran ones. So, Pralay is a new missile which you should ideally be familiar with, because the specific question on its characteristics can be framed. If you have just attended your class lectures a few years back, probably this missile might not be there in your class notes. So that's why I have picked up Pralay as specific theme. Otherwise, whenever some missile is in news, the basic topic which you need to revise is the classification of missiles. You should be clear about their range, whether they are short range, intermediate range, or intercontinental. The second part is whether their launch and target sites, what exactly are their launch and target sites, because multiple permutation combinations can be framed, like whether it's a surface to surface missile, air to air, surface to air, or air to surface. And the final part is quite interesting one. It is based on technology, whether the particular missile is ballistic in nature or it's cruise of category. So let's just try to associate all these words with the current missile. It is a ideal example of indigenization of technology. There is no foreign hand in it. So make sure whenever a statement is saying it's Indo-Israel, Indo-US, or Indo-Russian project, don't get carried away. It's totally an indigenous, you could say, example developed by none other than Defense Research Development Organization, which we all call DRDO. And it is currently being compared to BrahMos. BrahMos, we all know, is a quite an important asset for India because it's one of the first cruise missiles which was inducted into Indian Navy, and at that time it had reputation of one of the world's fastest cruise missile because it has Mach number of almost 2.8. So in simple terms we can say it can travel thrice the speed of sound. It's named after Indian Brahmaputra river and Moskova river. It's a joint Indo-Russian venture. So make sure you are clear with BrahMos because UPSC last year had framed a question on BrahMos because this was one of the first missiles which we had exported to Philippines because Philippines is in direct conflict with China for some, this is partly Paracel Island. So that's why they have strategically acquired from India. Now, Pralay is a mobile canister-based short-range missile. So, when I am saying short range, you should have make an educated guess that range cannot cross 500 barrier because intermediate missiles are typically more than 500 but less than 5,000, and intercontinental missiles are the ones which cross 5,500 barrier. So as you could see on your screen, speed is 150 to 500 kilometer. Canister missiles have advantage to be carried away from Tetra trucks. They can be strategically used as per the requirements of this is a tactical situation, and they give a desired advantage since they are lightweight, they are easy to transport and carry on short notice. So basically the current trend of Agni Prime as well as Pralay is been associated with these words. So make sure you are not too carried away what exactly are the canister based missiles. Now, what's most interesting part about this missile is we have seen currently the warfare is evolving. There are advanced radar systems, there are air defense systems, and typically one of the major disadvantage of ballistic missile, even though they are most destructive in nature when we compare from surface to surface category, at times they get detected by radar system and then they can be countered by interceptor missiles. So what they had tried to do in case of the Pralay missile, instead of following the conventional ballistic you could say projectile motion, these takes a low trajectory route. They generally bend before that specific you could say low altitude and then fall under influence of gravitation. So basically they try to evade the basic radar systems which are positioned for ballistic missiles. So that's why they are described as quasi ballistic in nature. So it's India's first quasi-ballistic in nature missile, even though it remains ballistic in nature, but then it tries to take advantage of the cruise because in cruise missiles we see they travel close to the surface and then take enemy by surprise. They are not commonly detected or easy to detect by the conventional radar system. So that's why I have highlighted this word. And then they carry the surprise element and they can carry both types of warheads as situation demands, whether it's by land, sea or air. So make sure whenever you are noting down any missile in nature, you should be clear about the collaborations, its range, its nature, its key characteristics. Even though sometimes there are a lot of micro descriptions like what exactly is the weight, what exactly are the in meter length, that are to be omitted. Only the basic nature of missiles has to be there. So why this missile made news in 2025-24 timeline is because we are currently exploring this missile to be exported to Armenia because Armenia is perceiving a threat from its neighboring countries, and since India offers competitive prices for such missiles, it might be one of the missiles which might get exported. So after BrahMos, it's most likely the second missile which can be acquired. So if it get acquired, this topic will become suddenly a major buzzword because India is trying its level best to shed that load of being world's biggest importer, and it's trying to emerge as an exporter nation because it's always better to be on the different side of the picture, and currently we are seeing hostile situation of trade war, so every such product is being watched globally from larger economic purpose as well. So this is what we had in our second lecture of, you could say, prelims cruise program. I hope it gave you a fair idea about three macro themes: the missiles and the Air Force as well as Navy. So I tried to balance the three pillars of our defense, and hopefully it would have given you some useful insights on it. If you are having any ambiguous doubt about these three specific topics, feel free to ask them in comment section. We will ready to help you in your quest to crack. So in third theme, we will try to take a biotech and medicine theme and keep following our Civil Service Gurukul new channel for regular updates. And if you have missed Science and Tech, there is a good news. From Monday onwards, we are starting a fresh batch on Science and Technology at 11 a.m. So be there. Have a nice day.